dun. Hello. His parents freed them. Well, I was technically already free. I just took the morning off so I could make sure I got those Sonic cards. Because I didn't want to miss out on that. Okay. Let's get to shading this. Hope everyone's doing alright. You know, it would help if I plugged in my tablet. Well, yeah, I mean, I was always gonna keep streaming. I was just occupied with family stuff. If I do stop streaming, it's probably because I'll be working on something in particular. But at the moment, I'm gonna try to keep streaming as much as I can. Good morning. Well, I'm glad you like my live streams. I did try to brush up on some live 2D tutorial stuff, so hopefully I can try to get something around that going, or even just like animatic stuff. I'm just debating on if I should put together something big or start small. Probably start small, just so I can get some practice in, or do some skits related stuff, similar to the Becky skit that I had done. Like if Sega sold the Sonic license to Disney. I don't even know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because that would heavily depend on what the fuck Disney does with it. On one end, we get more Sonic animation. On the other end, I don't know what the other end is, because it would heavily depend on what they would do with the Sonic series. So I don't entirely know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Part of me wants to say bad just because of the current people in charge of Disney, but that's not always the case. So I like to be a bit optimistic if that were to happen. Still wouldn't be a preferred thing, but it'd be interesting if it did happen. Yeah, that's just the streams deciding the thumbnails on that. I have no input on that. It doesn't even let me choose. It just picks whatever it thinks is interesting. Yeah, I can see like a broken clock scenario with Disney. Because like Disney's still like, you know, competent when it comes to Mickey stuff. Like the newer Mickey cartoons and stuff like that were good. So it's not like they don't know how to make good cartoons. It's just certain people in charge are screwing around with other aspects of Disney. And hopefully soon they get kicked out. Because that would have been the case last year, but for some idiotic reason, the shareholders gave the people one more chance. But they are paying attention, which is a good thing. So hopefully we'll see some changes soon. I don't think it's happening this year. It might be like next year or something like that, or a couple years from now. But there should be some shakeups pretty soon. In other news, Kamen Rider Zets. I cannot wait for that shit to come out in September. That is going to be a fun time, especially since it'll be broadcasting in the West as well. So hell yeah. Yeah, Zetsu has a really interesting design, and from what I've heard from the Kamen Rider Twitter, He's supposed to be kind of like a secret agent that deals with dreams, from what I've read. So that'll be interesting. And then he's an obvious reference to Kamen Rider Ichigo, but he's also a writer who wears his belt as kind of like a sash. So that'll be interesting. And then the little orbs that he puts into his driver, they have like little sprites that animate when you spin the ball. So when you put it in the driver and you spin it, it animates. So it looks pretty cool. And it gives him his form changes. And so far he just changes colors, kind of like Mega Man. So they kind of kept it simple. But it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out, especially since it seems like they're trying to aim for a Western audience a little bit more, which is good, because the easier it is to watch the series, the easier it is to get their merch, and the easier it is to get whatever else that comes with, like more figures, probably more side stuff like movies and stuff like that. Like, that'd be great. So I am definitely looking forward to that. Just do it this way, because I can use the other layer to put on the shadow. But yeah, like, I would love to try to animate the way Brown Dust 2 does. Which is doable, but I do know that they use a program to help themselves out on that end. So it might take a little bit more effort if I were to try to do that. But like I said, I'm going to try to start small and work my way up. And this stream's probably going to be a little short. I'm just going to finish off this picture and then call it. And then tomorrow we'll do longer stuff. That way I can work on secrets and whatever else I'm working on. I want to get the $10 tier shipping stuff done. Hey, Frost. How do you know it's the same sandwich? She probably ate it and was like, "Hey, Viro, I need another sandwich." And then Viro brings her another sandwich. And Skylar's like, "Wait, why didn't I give her a sandwich?" And he's like, "Cause I'm the one drunk. Cause I'm the one in charge." And Skylar just looks at Viro with a growl. And Viro just glares at him. He's like, "Uh huh." Viro would be like, "The hell are you gonna do?" Exactly. It's like the boys be fighting, she's just like, "Yay, sandwiches," and just eats more. From the tutorials I was looking at, I could probably do something simple with Marci. But it's still gonna take a bit of time to do. Mainly just have to make the right assets to animate with. But yeah, we'll see what I can do. I'm gonna try to get something going this week. Maybe I'll stream myself working on it. But I might just do it off stream just so I have more focus. But we'll see. Like maybe I'll do the practice stuff off stream, and then once I get better at it, I can stream myself working on stuff like that. It's just one of those things where, like, if I'm not like 100% sure of what I'm doing, I would prefer to do it off stream just so I don't feel like I'm wasting time when I could stream something more interesting. Yeah, it's one of those scenarios that, because some of the stuff I do can't be streamed, I have to be a bit picky about what I'm streaming, even if it's like not very productive in terms of like, say, progressing a comic or something, because as much as I would love to stream working on comics all the time, there are just some moments that I can't stream because of YouTube's rules. So during those moments, that's when I'll be, you know, working on character art or anything that's safe for their rules. Like, again, nudity is allowed on YouTube, but it's so fucking picky that I have to like really think about whether or not it's okay to stream it. Like, for example, like, and then with their rules, even if I don't draw nudity, something can still be considered too risque for YouTube. So again, they're just really picky. Like, technically, they could probably see this as too risque somehow. And it just boils down to like, whoever decides to flag it or whatever, it's like, okay, this person doesn't like fat art or something, or oh, this character's boobs are too big, so that's too risque, or it's just complete nonsense. So I'm almost like walking the line here with what I draw. And then I can also, you know, and then I can also, you know, draw nudity and be completely fine. But I guess it's like, as long as it's not too arousing or whatever the hell that means, then it's fine. But I don't know. All I can say is I'm just gonna try to draw what I can. Hopefully, nothing gets in trouble, and then we can just keep having fun. That's pretty much it, really. But yeah, whatever I'm able to stream or assume I can stream, then I'll do that. Just hopefully YouTube stays chill. Because like the animator Dives, one of his videos got taken down, and all that really happened in the video was a character goes into a giant woman's mouth, she makes like nom nom noises, and then spits him back out, and he's covered in drool, and that got taken down, which is dumb because there's been plenty of stuff on YouTube that does something similar, if not more. So I don't know anymore. I guess the best thing I can say is, if I were to put something up on YouTube and it gets taken down, then I'll just make a teaser version of that video and direct people to Patreon or wherever. And be like, alright, too hot for YouTube. And I'll even put that in the title too, saying too hot for YouTube or something like that. Or too hot for YouTube. Well, the problem with Picardo is that Picardo doesn't do anything for me. And I'm better off using that time to just build up my YouTube channel at this point. Which, by that logic, I should probably just stop paying for Picardo's premium. Which was only like $12, but still. I should just stop doing that now. Since I'm not... It's looking less likely that I'm going to be using it from this point on. But it was nice while it lasted. Like, it still recorded, you know, videos that I could take out and put on Patreon and all that. So it wasn't all for nothing necessarily. But definitely makes more sense to just focus on YouTube stuff. No, because again, like, I'd rather use the time to be productive. Like, it's not a bad idea, it's just I'd rather just use the time wisely. So, like, if I'm gonna stream, then I'm gonna make it count towards the amount of hours I need to build up so I can try to get monetized. But I would also like to try to make some animation stuff, which would help out. So it just boils down to just trying to optimize my time a little bit more. Like, I'm still bad at it, but I'm trying to be better about how I use my time. Okay, I think I got everything. Could probably do a little bit of lighting stuff over here. And then I can always make speed paint videos too. If I'm feeling in the mood. But the streaming videos are definitely more helpful. If only I had done this years earlier though, but better now than never. But yeah, I think once I do some practice stuff, I would like to make something fun with Marci. Or make like unique characters specifically for the animation side. Because I've had a few ideas here and there. Because I either want to do like short little animation stuff, either similar to Ridiculous Cake or similar to Dives, or make something similar to like visual novel stuff, kind of like Class of '09 type of style. The only downside is there likely won't be any voices at least for a good while. So starting really small on these. But who knows? Either work my way up to getting voice actors, or go the robot route and make up some AI voices with whatever text-to-speech software I can find. Hello. But yeah. Thinking about all my routes and choice and options, so like I said, probably gonna start small with whatever I can do and work my way up. And then obviously as I keep doing it over and over, it'll get easier to do. And then I can probably try to do more advanced stuff. Because the tutorial I watched basically confirmed everything I thought I'd have to do. and it just boils down to time. It's just going to be time consuming. There's no way around it. Unless I use one of those live 2D programs, but that thing's like, I forget how much it was, but I know it was pretty expensive. And it does some of the work for you. Like it breaks up some of the objects into like a more 3D-ish thing for 2D, and then you can like manipulate it. Uh, I see her voice like not changing regardless of her size, honestly. Never really pictured her with a deeper voice. Hard to say what her voice would sound like, but if I had to take a guess, I would say probably like Starfire's voice from Teen Titans. Haven't really thought too much of her voice, honestly. Mostly thought of Blake's and Becky's and Tiffany's. And I guess Crystal's to a degree. Just what her voice would sound like. I always picture Blake's voice to be similar to Fenico's from Agretzko. That's usually how I imagine it. The fan trailers, yeah, I've seen them. Slightly disappointed that they kept Rouge small. I do like the idea that she puts one of the emeralds into her breastplate in order to give herself super speed. Yeah, Rouge is just in a weird spot because she keeps being changed in like every game that she appears in. I think there's only been like maybe 1 or 2 games where her model didn't change. But she'll never... Unfortunately, she'll never go back to being her curvy self from SA2 unless someone gets really ballsy with her. And ignores, like, any higher up stuff. Which probably wouldn't matter anyway, because then she would just end up changing in the next game. But yeah, they have yet to be consistent with her. Now that I think about it, how would Dr. Robotnik fare against the gun military? Because they don't really... Because, like, obviously Dr. Robotnik has tried to take over the world multiple times. So... like, what's their stance on all this? They always send like the Sonic crew to go deal with them rather than anybody of their own aside from maybe Rouge and I guess by extension Shadow and Omega. But even then it's just kind of like, alright, so we have this giant military. What the fuck are we using them for? Because it seems either they're doing nothing or they're getting destroyed by Shadow and his crew. And that's it. And I mean, like, obviously Robotnik in the beginning with Sonic Adventure 2, but after that it was like, okay. I was like, what are you guys doing? Where were we paying you guys for? Honestly, it'd be really interesting if the military was like collecting data on Sonic and all the other Mobian characters, and like trying to utilize that for themselves in some way. Like, we don't really do clones in Sonic, so maybe that would be an interesting route. Yeah, kinda in Sonic X. But I mean, like, some of that is probably just like the beginning parts where Shadow comes in and all that, because that's what happens in Sonic Adventure 2, where Robotnik is, you know, destroying a lot of gun military stuff. So it could have just been those segments. But like after the fact, they don't really do anything after that. And then obviously Sonic X is its own thing. But yeah, it would be interesting if they were like collecting data on everybody, and then eventually makes their own like team that they can like have full control over, that won't go rogue, or like won't just, you know, do things without permission. And I can see those characters ending up having like an identity crisis type of thing, where they're like unsure if they were like fully just genetically engineered or if they have any past or whatever. Almost similar to Surge and Kitsunami in the IDW comics, almost similar to them, but those two have been very clear to have pasts, like they have a past, but they don't know where they came from, and they came to the conclusion of if nobody was looking for them, then nobody cared what happened to them and when they got, you know, abducted and modified by Starline. But it would be interesting if the gun military was trying to like make units that were similar to Sonic and his team. Or even Shadow, like they use data on Shadow. Yeah, because so far in Sonic we've had evil twins, or evil versions from other dimensions. We've had roboticized versions of characters. We've had characters that are similar to other characters. But we've never really had clones, which is interesting that they haven't gone that route. Unless you count the Shadow androids, but that's a bit of a question mark on if they're actually clones or not. It's like, are they clones or are they just like androids? Because in Sonic Heroes, Omega mentions cloning, but then they kind of retcon that in Shadow the Hedgehog by calling them just androids. And then Omega destroys most of them anyway. And I think they all end up becoming like a blue color later down the line, or some, or like a off color, or yellow, I think it was, later down the line. Because at first they were all red, and then Omega, I think, destroyed them. They weren't really clear on that. But then when you see them again, they're yellow. Don't remember what color they were in IDW. I think they were still yellow, if I remember right. And then the only other closest one was Mephiles the Dark, when he takes the form of Shadow. But he's basically his own character. Yeah, because Robotnik's already done the machine stuff, so it'd make more sense for, like, Gun to do the cloning thing. And it looked like that's what Robotnik was going to do in Heroes, but then they changed it to androids in Shadow the Hedgehog. But yeah, it would be interesting if they decided to do that. Or even bring back robotization from the Sat AM series. That was always a neat mechanic where friends can end up becoming enemies if they get roboticized. And you just have like dark versions of those characters. Especially if you capture the right character and roboticize them, that's just horrifying. Because like Sonic was a huge problem because he had all this information about where all the secret hideouts were and what key points to hit and stuff like that. When Nicole was infected with a virus, she was a problem because she controlled basically all of the security systems for Nahul, as well as the nanites and the Neo Sonic robots at the time. Sally was a problem when she got roboticized. So yeah, every time one of the key characters got roboticized, it was like, oh shit. The only time it didn't matter was when Sonic and Tails got turned into machines because of aliens, and when Knuckles got roboticized because he still retained his free will. I think during the Mega Man crossover, when a lot of characters got turned into Robot Masters, that was probably like the closest thing to like a big giant group of characters being roboticized, because you had Rose Woman, Shadow Man, which was funny because there's two Shadow Man. Well, they've been freed after that point because Sonic got roboticized when he offered the idea that he would purposely get captured by Robotnik, and then they had like a special chip that they were going to use to have Sonic retain his free will so he could spy on Robotnik, but Sally was against the idea. Um, I think because the chip was experimental still, so they weren't 100% sure if Sonic would be okay. And so Sonic was pissed that they wouldn't go with his idea, but he didn't like do anything. But he ends up getting captured by Fang the Sniper, and ends up getting roboticized anyway. So then all of Sonic's friends think that he disobeyed orders and got himself roboticized. And so there was like this whole, well, maybe not whole arc, but there was like definitely like a special made where Sonic is sent to Knothole to destroy it. And at first, Robotnik was trying to get the information of where Knothole was exactly, so he could just send his troops to go there and destroy it. But Sonic had like enough free will to prevent himself from giving out that information. And so Robotnik was like, all right, you don't have to tell me where it is, but just go destroy it. And so Sonic was like, all right. He's like, as you command, and he goes and starts setting the place on fire and shit. He fights Bunny Rabbit and Knuckles, and it takes Sonic and Knuckles heading towards a bunch of nukes to basically knock out Sonic enough to, or damage Sonic enough for them to change him back to normal. And the only reason why Knuckles was okay was, one, Sonic at the last minute put himself in front of the bombs to take most of the damage, and Knuckles was made with an older version of the roboticizer, so the older versions were apparently more durable compared to the newer versions that used more alien technology, and so they were like less durable, so they were like weaker in terms of, you know, taking damage and stuff like that, but they were definitely more efficient. Are we talking about Sonic lore? Oh yeah, yes we are. And again, Knuckles got roboticized at the same time during that special. With Sally ended up getting roboticized during the Genesis wave, when Sonic and her were trying to set everything right because reality got twisted and warped. And Sally actually dies right before reality got fixed. Like, Robotnik's gun turrets basically shoot her and kill her. But then when reality gets warped again because Sally and Sonic were there to sabotage the Death Egg, Sally ends up getting roboticized and basically just becomes cold, very like a huge problem, because she knows everybody's weaknesses, so she was like trying to attack everybody psychologically. And then she knew all of their secrets, so she was telling Robotnik everything about, you know, where their base is and stuff like that. Robotnik ends up making her a team, so she had Metal Sonic, Metal Tails, and Metal Knuckles to work with her. And then he upgrades Sally to have weapons of her own. So it was just this whole thing. And she was like a problem for like the longest time, before reality got warped again and she ended up going back to normal. And then during the Mega Man crossover was when we got a bunch of characters that got turned into Robot Masters. But it was funny with Shadow, because you had Shadow who ended up turning into Shadow Man, and then you have Shadow Man from the Mega Man series, so you had two Shadow Man. And I can't remember exactly who was having this problem, but like, I think it was like Sonic and I want to say maybe Tails, or probably, I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while, but like they were trying to figure out which Shadow Man to go after, because it's like, wait, this Shadow Man or this Shadow Man? And it's like, they're both Shadow Man. Just fight them already. So that was funny. And then when Sonic was turned into a Robot Master, he became Sonic Man, and he was fighting Flash Man. And Flash Man thought he could stop Sonic with his time stop, but Sonic just made himself faster and was able to move during stop time. So that was a thing. So if anything, that was like the closest JoJo reference we ever got to that. It's like, wait, you can move and stop time? What the fuck? So that's just one of those little small nods to like Sonic constantly holding back, just so something's more entertaining for himself. Well, it was already an ability Sonic could do. There's just no situation where that came up, really, except for that moment. Because Sonic purposely slows himself down so that way he can have his friends with him. Because there was a comic where classic Sonic is like, you know, on an adventure with his friends, but he gets like really annoyed that he has to keep waiting for them. So he decides to go off on his own and, you know, just goes up ahead and starts doing stuff. But then once he's like, you know, saving the day or you know, destroying robotics machines, he tries to celebrate, but like nobody's around. And so he starts getting lonely, and so he ends up going back to where the others were, and he has a better appreciation for having them around. And that's why his friends are usually able to keep up with him. Shadow's interesting because we don't know if he's actually fast without his jet boosters. Because he never takes them off. And we've never seen him without them. And he's always using them for his speed, so we don't know if he can actually move fast on his own without them. And then a lot of the time, he's just always having an emerald on hand to use Chaos abilities. So the emeralds are kind of doing a lot of the heavy lifting there when it comes to Shadow's abilities. Well, he doesn't always use time stop. Like, we see him move without having to use time stop, but we don't know if he's fast without his boots. And he can hover with his boots, but he only did that in like Sonic Adventure 2, and that was it. He never does it again. Yeah, I would say he's a lot more similar to Knuckles to a lot of moments. And we gotta remember, so far, Knuckles is the only character who's punched out Super Sonic in canon. Like, we gotta remember that. That is a feat that Knuckles has. Well, I mean, he's actually done it. He's done it in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Very beginning of the game, you show up on the island as Super Sonic, and Knuckles knocks him out of Super State. He just pops out of the ground and knocks him right out of it, and then steals the emeralds like immediately after. Have we seen Knuckles fight Shadow at all? Is this going to be like a Vegeta Piccolo scenario where they never actually fought each other? I don't think so. I don't think we've seen Knuckles fight Shadow at all. I still argue that Shadow is, or that Knuckles is Sonic's actual rival. Because there's no real reason for Shadow to be Sonic's rival. They have like one or two misunderstandings, and then that's kind of it. Neither of them are trying to be faster than the other. They may like to race, but that's like it. They don't actually like sit there trying to train to become faster or anything like that. Well, no, because Sonic transforms like shortly after reaching the island. He jumps off the plane and transforms. So that means he still would have had 50 seconds before that happened. And that's way... He has more than enough time for before Knuckles could even do anything to him, but Knuckles just knocks him out of it. And that could just be tied to Knuckles' connection with the Master Emerald and stuff like that. Or Knuckles is just that fucking strong. I like to think he's that strong that he could knock out Supersonic. Because it's either that or Supersonic wouldn't be affected because Supersonic's, invulnerable. For the most part. But yeah, because Sonic would have to transform with 50 rings. That's like literally the mechanic. So it had to at least be 50 seconds. But it doesn't take him that long to get to the island after he transforms, so I would like to think that Knuckles is just strong enough to knock him out. Okay, so we're good on this. Not really in terms of that, because in Adventure 1, all they really do is just say the Master Emerald can control the Chaos Emeralds, which we kind of already knew in Sonic 3 because of what you do in that game. And then it's more linked to Chaos than anything of what they were trying to do with Chaos. But it wasn't too much new information, really. And then all we really learned is that even if the emeralds are drained of their negative energy, they can still use the positive energy. That's all we really learned of the emeralds in that game. And that, Chaos was in charge of protecting the Master Emerald at some point. Not necessarily, because a lot of what he learned in Adventure was from Tikal. Because he had those visions along with everybody else. And then he ends up using it again in Sonic Adventure 2 when the Master Emerald is being used for the Eclipse Cannon. And so Knuckles uses the Master Emerald to stop all the other emeralds from doing stuff. In Sonic 3? Kinda depends on where you're trying to get your information from. Because if you're trying to go off of, like, the canon information now, then you have to read the IDW comics. And even then, a lot of this is, like, reinterpreted because of, hindsight. So if we're only going off of the games themselves, Knuckles doesn't do anything with the emeralds if we're going off of the games. The emeralds just show up at the shrine if you try to do the Super Emeralds. And then if we're going off of Sonic Mania, we see that the Super Emeralds have been turned to stone. And the Super Emeralds do show up in the comics as well. And they're turned to stone. Well, in the original, there's nothing. There's no information. Knuckles doesn't use the emeralds at all. The closest we ever get to Knuckles interacting with the emeralds are when he steals them from Sonic after knocking him out of Super State, and when he's holding the Master Emerald after he defeats Mecha Sonic. That's it. That's the closest we ever get to it. And when he jumps on it when Dr. Robotnik is stealing it. That's it. Technically, there's another time when you have to attack the Master Emerald in order to destroy Robotnik's robot, but that's basically it. That's more of a bonus thing rather than being canon, because that's just an add-on that they put on to Sonic 2 as a retro thing. I wouldn't say that's canon to anything. And plus, according to Sega currently, all the characters' super forms are just like what-if scenarios. They're not canon to the story. At least according to Sega. I don't know how long they're gonna stick with that. But currently, anybody's super forms other than Sonic, Trip, Shadow, Silver, Blaze, technically Robotnik, if we're counting the artwork that they posted of Super Robotnik. Who else? Yeah, I think it's silly too. It makes no fucking sense. All of the characters should be able to have super forms. It's fine if it's not part of the story, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be capable of it. This is kind of why they should have their own separate games at some point. Like, we need another Knuckles game, another Tails game. Amy should have her own game. Blaze, Rouge. Like, we need games for all these side characters so that, one, we can learn more about them, and two, give them a chance to go super at some point. Like, give them a scenario where they end up getting all the emeralds for whatever the reason why they get the emeralds, whether it's like a bonus thing or if it's actually part of the story, and just let them have fun. Like, it makes no sense to lock that specifically to Sonic characters, because like for a while their excuse was that only hedgehogs could go super, which was really stupid. But then they like went back on that, probably because they were making Sonic Superstars, and we're gonna have Trip, who uses the emeralds to turn into a Super Dragon. So that's probably why they're like, okay, it's not just for hedgehogs. But then when we got the Sonic Origins game, there was dialogue in the game that says, oh, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy can go super. But then they retcon it and it says, oh, they can go into their super powered forms instead of just, super forms. So they try to like downplay the fact that they could go super for some reason, and it's weird. Sonic and Blink. I don't know what the Blink is. Oh yeah, like if Sonic was around, then they could go super. Like it would make that could work too. But it just makes sense for the characters to be able to use the emeralds. Like it's weird that it's solely on Sonic for some reason. Like, I could understand the ancient paintings from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that shows, Super Sonic versus Dr. Robotnik with the Master Emerald thing, and that could lean into why Shadow's design is the way it is, because he looks like a hedgehog, and most of that research was based off of that. If we're going off of Sonic Battles lore, like, that makes sense why Shadow would be a hedgehog, so that way he could use the emeralds. The same way it was written in the ancient artwork. But then we just have more. But then we have to have more to explain with that because we have to dive into. Yeah, I'm talking about the games right now. We would have to dive into the Frontiers lore stuff because that's establishing a bunch of stuff too. You wouldn't like a solo game of each. I mean, at this point, there should be. It's been 30 years at this point. It's been 30 years, and we've only had games of Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow already. That's it. We have so many fucking characters, and only 3 of the side characters have had their own game. At this point, they should do it by now. It would make no sense to not do it. Because it sucks that the only information we ever get is when Sonic is around in terms of the games. In terms of the IDW comics, we have a little bit more to work with because obviously characters are going to be doing shit in comics and stuff like that. So obviously we wouldn't solely just be focusing on the main character forever. But in terms of the games, it's almost like no excuse at this point. It's like, come on, man, we should be having side content for other characters at this point. And then I guess a little bit of the Chaotix, if we count the Knuckles Chaotix thing. I guess technically they have a little bit of side information. But still, it's like, it's bizarre that we haven't done this. Especially when you can make each game like its own playstyle. Like, if we had the Freedom Fighters, for example, they could be in their own game similar to Persona, for example. You could make a Freedom Fighters game that plays in the style of Persona, and that would be sick. Yeah, like they're still gonna do Sonic stuff the way they would, but you can make the other characters have their own games and make them play differently. Or, you know, play whatever works best for the character. Like Knuckles, he's supposed to be a treasure hunter, and we barely do any of that with him in the games. We've done that like, what, 2-3 times, and that's it? Like, you could have like a whole arc of Knuckles collecting artifacts for Angel Island that have gotten scattered on other lands and stuff like that. And this gives him the excuse of being able to explore. And yeah, you could tie Erosion to that too, because she's a treasure hunter. You could have her, you know, do the same thing, or you could give her her own game where she's doing espionage stuff. Or even just being a jewel thief. We actually never see her be an actual jewel thief in the games. Maybe in the comics if we're generous, but a lot of the times it's tied to the plot, rather than her just being an actual thief. So yeah, there's just a lot of missed or untapped potential with the characters that we're being told like, oh, this is the character, but then we never see them do it. Yeah, or like with Tails, Tails has had his own game where you could, like, you know, run around and stuff. You could have him, like, you know, play the way he would in any Sonic game, but then you can tie into his like gadgets and stuff. It's like, oh, here's this door that I need to hack in, or this enemy's tougher to beat. I need my Buster gun from Sonic Battle. Like, you know, we can make it more interesting. It's like, oh, this area is too far away. I'll use the Cyclone to get there, like he does in Frontiers. Like, there's so much you could work with it on that. Becky needs a Kamen Rider and Sonic Fangirl outfit for when I do this. I know, right? One of these days I'll make more outfits for her. Maybe after August, because I need to start working on the anniversary artwork. Maybe I'll try to get to work on that this week. No, because in Sonic Heroes, it says that she is a part-time. She works part-time for gun, or for the government. So she's supposed to be a jewel thief first, and then a spy or an agent. But we never see her be a thief. I don't know if they've changed that over time. Because I'd have to read more manuals and stuff, but they keep like insisting that she's a jewel thief, but then she's never doing it. Yeah, I could see Becky doing like some half-assed cosplay or like overdoing it with the cosplay. We got a thief, a treasure hunter, a couple princesses, a tales who's an inventor or blacksmith. Sonic is in a secret furry D&D campaign made sci-fi. I mean, we did have that Sonic RPG that unfortunately we'll never get again. But Sonic should definitely make their own RPG. They have the people who make Persona. They have the people who make Yakuza. They can easily make an RPG for Sonic. It's not going to be difficult at all. They have more than enough characters to use for it. Hell, they can even make a tactics game. They have more than enough characters to use for that. They have the card game, so clearly they're making models for all the characters that they're going to use. But yeah, it's just, and it's clear that Sega is slowly changing their stance on a few things. I still don't know why they're against other characters going super when it's never been a problem. But maybe that will change in the future as well. We are aware that that the developers of Sonic do want to use the other characters from like the cartoons and the comics. They just have to get the go-ahead from higher up. That's the only thing stopping them from doing it, is that they have to get the okay, and they haven't been getting it. Luckily, we've been getting people who work on the Sonic comics to help write for the stories, so that's good. That means we're getting better stories now. Having another Sonic Fighters would be awesome, because we got more than enough characters at this point to be using. We can easily bring back the characters from the original Sonic Fighters and then some. Like Sonic is sitting on so much potential. Like, we could have another Sonic R game. They can make a better party game, like a Sonic Shuffle. They can make a better Sonic Party game. Again, like the tactics thing, they're already doing the card game thing, which I think will be a good idea, especially if they use the cartoon characters and the comic characters, because they're already in the data. Super vanilla. I think the only way we'd ever get super vanilla is if there's like some ridiculous scenario where like all the emeralds are involved, somehow Cream is in the middle of it all. Something happens and it looks like, Cream is going to be in extreme danger to the point where not even like Sonic and crew can get to her in time. And then out of nowhere, her mom shows up, gets all the emeralds, and goes super to save her daughter or protect her daughter. And then we just see her in like a really badass state. Like, see, something like that would make a hell of a lot of sense, because if we got that, then we could easily make a game for her to tie into like who Vanilla was before she became a parent. Because like we could easily see Vanilla as like some kind of either a secret agent or just a badass adventurer before she settled down, or just before she like had Cream. Like, For all we know, she could have just met somebody, had a one-night stand, and then move on. And then, found out that she was going to have Cream. Like, we could go that route. We could go with, father, passing away thing if you want. Whatever the case may be. Or you don't explain that at all. You just leave that alone and just stick to Vanilla's occupation before she became a parent. Oh yeah, like Knuckles could do the whole DK thing easily because Knuckles digs underground for the treasure stuff. Have we done fan stuff before, right? Or in what way? Like, what do you mean? If they done fan stuff? Explain her death glitch. But yeah, like, you could explain stuff with Vanilla, but also keep it still vague, so that way there's still like hidden stuff about her. And even if like Sonic and crew were to ask her, like, like, whoa, where did all that come from and all that, she's like, oh, just motherly instincts. Like, she could just excuse it away as just, being a protective mother and not have to tell them anything. Because I like the idea of hinting of what Vanilla could do, or if we do get a game about her or a story about her, just, obviously none of the other characters will be aware of this. But I like the idea of her keeping everyone else in the dark about what she used to do. Because for all we know, she could probably fly with her ears. I mean, Cream can do it. God knows where the hell she learned that ability from. She probably just chooses not to do it. Oh, promoting stuff that fans have made? They have a few times, but nothing like other games. The closest thing we ever got to that was the re-release of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on mobile, where they added in the missing Hidden Palace Zone level that was removed from the original game, and of course Sonic Mania. That's pretty much all we've ever gotten that in terms of promoting fan stuff. Obviously they promote fan art, but most of the time it's like sticks to Sonic lore canon stuff. If we count comic stuff, they've promoted fan stuff in the RT comics with like fan art. But in terms of games, no, they've never promoted any of that. But they're pretty chill with fan art, with fan games. They don't mind fans making Sonic games as long as fans don't make any money off of it. So they're pretty chill. They're pretty chill on that. Yeah, I could see Vanilla being a little bit too heavy nowadays to be flying. So her like floating would make sense, like kind of like a Yoshi flutter type of thing. I could see her doing that, or even just being like a Luigi jump. Like, since she's a rabbit, she should have decent jumping abilities. So have like a good jump along with floating briefly. See, we already came up with her mechanics, and we're just, talking and shooting the shit. And then if we're going with the whole like her being like an adventurer or a secret agent thing, then obviously she would have like a different outfit to wear, as well. Which would be interesting because that would show off her curves and stuff like that, because we hardly ever see anything related to that in the games, if at all. Comment about her weight, definitely. Well, in the game, officially her weight is question mark. They do not say what her weight is. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot that Sega could be doing with their characters, and they kind of just need to be more open. Like, obviously, I understand why they're very tight leashed on it because of the Ken Fender stuff, but they can be tight leashed and still allow freedom, which seems to be the case, at least with Sonic Frontiers and the card game Sonic Blitz. Because if they allow Blitz to use the cartoon characters and the comic characters, that says a lot. And obviously, you know, this is just tied to the card game for now, but that might open up other things in the future if they're willing to dive into those characters. Especially since the characters that are in the data right now are that have Sally, Nicole, and Bunny from Sat AM. And that's a big deal. So hopefully, when Sonic Blitz fully releases, those characters are added into the game. I mean, I'm gonna play that game regardless, but I would definitely 100% play it if those three are in the game. Yeah, I could see that. Like, kind of like the wing cap from Mario 64. I could see that. Where she has like a more of a drop glide thing. Yeah, that makes sense too. I could see that working. Yeah, I could see Vanilla having like different aerial skills based on her height and, like, you know, wind drafts and stuff. So I could see her like having high jumping abilities because she's a rabbit. That makes sense. She can float in the air if there's like no draft, so kind of like Yoshi. And then if she's like really high up and there's like a lot of wind and stuff like that, then she just glides around like the wing cap or the cape from Super Mario World. So yeah, I could totally see her doing that. But yeah, see, like, here's all these ideas, and we're stuck with nothing right now. It's torture that we can. It's torture that we know that we're doing that. Actually, no, I want this. Yeet. No, I have not played the horse game. It looks interesting, but I'm just not. I'm not interested in playing it. I like the idea of it though. I like the idea that instead of like betting on actual horses, we just bet on the girls forever from this point on. And you just see a lot of streams just doing bets of which of their horses is gonna win. That would be incredibly funny and interesting at the same time. It's like, please let that be a thing that happens over time. Because there was that one video of somebody just like commenting on the horses and just saying like, oh, and this person's in first. Oh no, and they activate their ult. There we go, she wins. Like, that would be great if they just did that. The best Digimon game ever, pretty much. But yeah, I would love the idea that replaces horse racing, and they just bet on on Nekomimi or Kimono Mimi anime girls from this point on. It's like, please let that be a thing. And then the funniest part is, if that did become a thing, you know, fucking Sonic the Hedgehog could easily fall into that, where you could come up with a story that renders all of the Sonic characters like slow or whatever the case may be, and then that's when you have to train them and increase their power with like chaos energy or something to make them faster or whatever scenario they're put in. And then there you go. We have our own like Sonic, racers thing or whatever you want to call it. That would be interesting as well. And then different characters can do different shit. So like, oh, Tails has an advantage with some areas that allow him to fly or something. Knuckles can like burst through walls that characters couldn't normally go through or something. And like could even make it for like if characters were to break a wall, characters behind them have a chance of going through as well. So it's like a risk reward thing. Yeah, I like the idea that you're building the best horse you possibly can. I like that there's a horse that one of the characters is based on, where in real life, the horse has only won one race out of like 138 or something like that, and the race that it won was during a retired horse race type of thing, so it was only with horses that have already retired, and that horse had finally won a single race. And I was like, that is cute. And so the character that's based off of actually wins one race in the actual anime. And it's fucking funny. And sweet at the same time. It's like, oh, she did it. She got to win her race. She did it. She got her one. But yeah. There's so much potential with shit like that. Or hell, you could even make the Sonic game not even include Sonic or like the standard characters in it. Just purely the side characters doing like their own like little race thing. But obviously, but I think it'd be better to just add all the characters and then make up a reason why they all got slow, and then you raise them with like chaos energy and other stuff. Yeah, because isn't it like if you come in first, you get to do the idol dancing thing? I still need to watch Zombie Idols. There's a lot of shit I need to watch. Or is it Zombie Idols, or is it called Zombie Saga or something like that? I don't know. It's one of those zombie anime girls thing. I heard the first season of the anime was really bad, but the second season's a lot better from what I've heard. So most people just start with season 2 because it doesn't like. It's like you don't have to watch season 1 to watch season 2. All right, have a good night. Take care. I can't wait to watch the second season of Gushing Over Magical Girls. Speaking of which, I need to watch Penny and Stocking. There's a lot of stuff I need to watch. A race with my... That would be fun. Well, aside from Marci having an advantage because of Skylar, I could see other characters in the race who are like naturally big and already are used to it. It'd be a bit of an eye-opener for someone, well, not to Marci specifically, but to Skylar, because Skylar would think like, oh, you know, my woman will have it easy. but then realize that that the other women um, aren't pushovers. But then Skylar would have to like figure out how to balance that out without making it look suspicious. If he were to cheat, since he's already enhancing Marci to begin with. I don't know why that got taken down, but whatever. If you're still here, Tyler, I don't know what you're tripping out over, but there's just fat woman with a sandwich. I don't see what the problem here is. Okay, getting closer to finishing. Yeah, exactly. If I were to make something like that, obviously Marci would not be in it for that reason. But it would be funny to have like a character who enters like a race type of thing, but she enters based on weight class, and she wants to win like the biggest one. So you see her like putting on weight first, and then realizing that she has to like balance it out with training. Like actual training. Like she can't just be fat, she has to actually be able to be mobile still. And she'll be going up against like bigger characters like giants or whales or whatever the case may be. But that would be interesting. That'd be a fun little side thing. Pretty sure it was the swear. I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't have cared, honestly. It's literally like South Park. It's like, what? All he said was fuck. That's why I'm saying fuck. Fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck. I don't even, I mean, YouTube's mostly automated anyway. Nobody knows what the hell they like anymore. It's like we're fine exploiting children, but you say the word fuck, and I don't know, man. We gotta take off the gloves for that one. And plus, it's already been like 30 seconds since the stream started, so it shouldn't even matter at this point. Would you like to see the skull count? Been there, done that. down. Oh, really? Trying to be really subtle with these shine spots. Because I like them, but I don't like making the characters too shiny if they don't need to be. Should be fine. I'll check it out later. Okay. Pretty much getting close to ending. All that's left is a background, and I can add dialogue in post, but let's look for something. This one's not bad. Let me just grab this. Will it matter? I don't know, let's find out. Probably won't, but let's find out. And if it is a problem, I know how to fix it. Yeah, you can't even tell. But I'm gonna be blurring it anyway. And adding in whatever changes I need to make. Yeah, I could see that. I might do something like that for the dialogue. Hmm. 40 might be too much. I'm gonna go with 20. And then just to make sure this isn't an issue, copy stamp. Just in case this somehow became a problem. good after that. Yeah, I could see Skylar just, you know, having a dream like that. Questions a little bit of some of it's like, why are so and so here? Like, for example, Fat Blake shouldn't be there, but or Blake in general shouldn't be there, but whatever. But actually, let's make this a little bit more flat. But you know, he wakes up from it, it's like, huh, weird dream. Not that he's complaining, it's like, that was weird, but I liked it. He's like, I am not complaining. Alright, so aside from dialogue, we are done. Let me just drop this in. Why am I not able to grab this? Weird. Why am I not able to grab it? Huh. That was strange. Copy. Paste. Why am I not able to move it? Oh, there we go. That was weird. I must have clicked on that by mistake. Yeah, I would lean more towards him just having fun, with his mind having fun, just fattening up Blake, and then of course, you know, the other women he's had in his life are there, despite Zasha being long since gone. But anyway, here's Marci. I will add in some. That is Marci's belly. I will add in some dialogue for her and then post it a little later. You ain't the boss of me. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Like I said, this was going to be a shorter stream because it was mostly just focused on finishing her. But yeah, I will stream again tomorrow morning, and hopefully we'll have like a much longer stream. I don't know what I'm going to be working on, but for the rest of tonight, I'm going to be working on secrets and hopefully get that done as quickly as I can. Whatever else I'm working on, maybe I'll be able to work on it during the stream. Just depends on what it is. But yeah, I will see you guys in the morning. All right. You guys take care and have a good night. All right. Bye bye.